Good afternoon, chaps and chapettes, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Geeks Podcast. Thank you for being a follower. Thank you for being a subscriber, and I'm hoping that you're enjoying the content so far. So if you're new here, my name is Josh Castle at the Corona Mortis. You can also find us on Instagram at the Guitar Geeks Podcast. And we have a wonderful guest today who is fresh off the release, The Last Breath, with the Sea Upon Us. I have with us today Pablo. Hello, Pablo. How you doing?
Hello there. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm stoked to be here today. So yeah, thanks a lot.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Are you doing well today? Everything going well?
Yeah, all good, man. Yeah, I'm on annual leave now, so yeah, it's all good. I'm chilling today.
You
So
and me both.
yeah,
There's nothing better than when you're on that annual leave period. What do I do today? Oh, I'll do absolutely nothing. It's great.
nothing. Yeah, absolutely, man. Weather is crap, so yeah, got nothing to do. So yeah, I'm stoked to be here today. So yeah.
So, for those who aren't well or don't know of you, who are you and what do you do?
So basically, I've got two sides. On the musical side, yeah, I'm basically a guitar player of my band, The Sea Upon Us, which basically, it's long story short, we started everything as my basically solo project for many years, and for the last few months, it basically turned out into a full band, basically. So now we're gonna release a EP, so to say, or a short album, whatever you're gonna call it. Hopefully in October around Halloween time because it's very appropriate. Yeah, we play heavy rock slash post hardcore with some emo beats here and there. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to kind of pinpoint, but yeah, that's what I do.
It's I said we've been following each other probably for a couple of years now. So I think,
Yeah,
like from my perspective, I've seen you kind of grow from doing the little demos of like
yeah,
neural bit DSP stuff and get good drums, and then it's kind of evolved now
yeah,
into this band, which is really cool to see.
yeah. The magic of internet, man, it's absolutely amazing. So, I think because probably I think you've been also like involved with bands in the past because I've seen you like pictures of you playing on gigs. So I think we can all tell that sometimes when you go a band, you can get a bit burned out
Yeah,
because of basically the members that you're working with. So that was my case years ago because obviously, as you can tell of my accent, my name, I'm from Spain. So even though I'm living now in the UK, so I had a band back in the day. I got completely burned out, and I was like, you know what? Once I move, I'm just gonna start my own thing. I'm just gonna save some money, get my studio equipment, and I'm just gonna learn how to produce songs. Yeah, things escalated, and here I am now. So yeah, as you said, I was like doing my demos and stuff, and then I was meeting people like you on basically the actual members of the band. Yeah, and it's basically an internet band, so kind
I
of.
think I think I've noticed that, especially during the lockdown, and through the pandemic, that there have been like people that have been posting guitar videos or
Yeah,
vocal demos and whatnot, and there are a few of these like internet bands coming out, and I think that's great because you can, the great thing with Logic, whatever, you got a guitar track, I'll just send it to somebody in Sweden, you know,
exactly.
lay down some drums, and it's great. It's absolutely great.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I think we all kind of like needed that, like especially last year, which was like basically grim. Um, yeah,
That's an
yeah,
understatement.
yeah. I mean, I think we can both tell. Yeah, because obviously our own experiences. Obviously, for the people that obviously don't know me, I work for the NHS, which is the for the people that is not different in the UK, the National Health System. So I work in ICU here in Manchester. So yeah, it's been tough. So I think for even for the people that wasn't even working for the like any healthcare workers, I think we all needed to do something like positive or productive with our lives. So I think music kind of help us basically as like creative minds to kind of like yeah coping like yeah the coping
Yeah,
mechanism I think.
that's it for me. Like I said, as Pablo was saying, we both work for the NHS. He's in ITU or ICU, however you want to how we want to word it. And I'm in theatre, so it's kind of like both of us have definitely seen over the last sort of 18 months how much the pandemic has been effective. And I think, especially for you and me as well, having that downtime where you can come home and play some guitar and just zone out, it's been so pivotal in the last over the last sort of 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I basically spent the first peak of the pandemic, I think, up to maybe last autumn or so. I basically spent all those months like tracking, like finish writing this album. So basically, whatever it comes out like this year, it'll be only. It was like basically my thing, but obviously we are like writing like all the new stuff, which basically like a collaborative thing. So yeah, that's basically what I did like during the pandemic, which was kind of like productive. So yeah, I can't complain.
I think I noticed when I can see in my guitar playing at the start of the pandemic and then after the pandemic, and it was because I had nothing better to do, and I was like, oh well, I'll actually try and knuckle down. And I didn't knuckle down like I originally thought. Okay, I'll learn my theory properly and I'll learn this scale. And I did nothing. I did nothing of that. I just did techniques.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, fair enough, man. Yeah, at least you do like better than me, because I never practice, man. I'm so bad at it. I just play. I don't know. I just want to write all the time. That's basically what I spend since basically when I got my first guitar a long time ago. I got it, and then I just wanted to write stuff, and that's basically what I've done all the time. I've got like limited time, so all the time that I got in my hands with a guitar, I was like, okay, I just want to write stuff. So
that's it. Like I've never been much of a writer. It comes in dribs and drabs when I write, and I've always just enjoyed. Okay, I'm going to play some ReampZone today. I'm going to play some Toska today. I'm going to play some blah 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 blah. And when I do write, it's kind of like, okay, that bit's done. Let's move on to that bit, and then I'll do a song in a couple of hours. But the only problem is, it's like usually I'll be lying in bed at 2:00 in the morning. I'll go, oh, I've got an idea.
yeah. It's always before you go to sleep, man. You are basically few seconds to get to proper sleep, and you're like, oh, that's very cool. But then what happens to me? I'm like, oh yeah, probably remember tomorrow.
No, doesn't happen.
Never.
So where did the guitar journey kind of start for you? Because, I guess being Spanish, did you have like flamenco style guitar that was very inspirational when you were younger, or was it literally you had dime bag or etc. etc.?
So yeah, actually that's a very good point. So basically everything started when I was probably 7-8 years old. Basically my parents like basically put me on like music school, whatever, and then I started playing piano. I did that for 7-8 years, but then obviously you just get like into the like teenage years, and you obviously start discovering your own music. So I started like listening rock and metal music, obviously, but and then obviously every teenager wants to like play a guitar and be cool. So that's what I tried to do that. So I quit that because I was playing like classical music, which actually nowadays, whenever you hear the full thing on my band, the Sea Upon Us, he's obviously got like a very, even like with Last Rest, you can basically tell that classical music was like a massive influence from me. So I basically take that influence, but then I quit everything because I was like tired of playing classical music and I just wanted to be cool. And I've been being self-taught when I was 13 or 14 years old till now. I haven't stopped playing.
Yeah, unfortunately, classical music doesn't bring the putas to your neighborhood.
Exactly.
I apologize because the extent of my Spanish is very slim. The only actual sentence I know is you're gonna have to forgive my pronunciations here. Es regla y muy peligroso.
Oh, okay.
This ruler is very dangerous.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
That's all I know in Spanish.
Okay. I don't know where you got that from, because that's like a kind of like random.
Yeah, it's one of those random sentences that you So, as kind of with classical music, was it very much playing? Like, forgive my lack of knowledge here, but was there different things in Spain that you found were more popular there than they are back here in the UK?
You mean in terms of like musical culture, in terms of like
Yes,
rock metal thing?
yes,
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Here it's absolutely incredible. And then if I compare that to back to Spain, you are basically like an outsider. It's basically very not very popular at all. So I remember when I was 8 years old, when I was like kind of like playing piano. I think the riff that changed everything to me. I was like into like Linkin. Well, I wasn't into nothing when, obviously when you're like 8 years old, and then I still remember that to this day when I listen "Somewhere I Belong" by Linkin Park. It was basically they live in Texas. It was like basically like a live DVD
yeah, I remember
intro.
that.
That intro riff, I was like absolutely blown away. I was like, I think probably I've never heard like a distorted guitar in my life. I was like, what is that? I want
Yeah,
to know what's that. And then obviously that started everything. I was like into Linkin Park when I was like basically 9, 10, 11, and then I got into like rock like Foo Fighters and Green Day. Obviously you just start like getting into the rabbit hole. So you start into the soft things, and then I got into metal like Metallica and Avenged Sevenfold, and then I go into metalcore, and then I went like deep down into the rabbit hole. Now I listen to everything. So, but yeah, back home in Spain, especially I'm from the south. So basically, where basically the most popular thing is like kind of like flamenco kind of music. So you are like a completely outsider. So I was basically on my own.
when I went to, I played some gigs in Spain. We had like a little rock festival. It was, and it was in Benalmádena.
Okay.
Like and I when it was kind of weird because we were all like there's classic rock bands and the metal bands and whatnot, but the musical culture kind of there seemed completely non-existent.
Yep.
Like
Actually,
to
yeah.
me,
Yeah,
it
you
was quite
just nailed it.
surprising.
It's basically doesn't exist. Basically, obviously, I know people from my hometown that they are into like metal and rock, but obviously, if you try to play a gig, which I did back in the day, yeah, it's very difficult to get like people to go to the gig. So yeah, you just kind of like get fed up, and then yes, yeah. Normally, people like try to move on after a few years, right? And I don't blame them because it's not like in a cultural thing. But here in the UK, there's so many like cool bands, and even at work, I chat with like colleagues about like music. So yeah, that's probably unseen for me. Like obviously back in the day. So
So I imagine it must have been, especially even then, more difficult trying to, buy a guitar and amplifier, and you kind of have to make do with, I imagine, the best that you could find at the time.
actually, yeah. Well, regarding the gear, yeah, there were like guitar stores and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously all very limited, like the same kind of brands. Obviously, you're not gonna like you're gonna not I don't know. You're not gonna find a I
Beluga.
don't know. Yeah, something super fancy. Obviously, you got your Squires and Fenders and Epiphones and Gibsons, and yeah, that's kind of that's it. There's not a lot to. But obviously, on the internet era, I remember that I used to buy my stuff on Toman.
Yeah.
So obviously that yeah, I was like, okay, I can't find what I want, so I'll try to get it somewhere else.
Tolman, if anybody from Tolman is listening, like your store is just great.
Oh yeah, absolutely yeah.
The amount of stuff I bought from there, say my art's okay, but was from Tolman, and
Hmm.
I swear I bought another guitar from Tolman. I can't remember what one. I think it was like a Kirk Hammett one. I think I bought from there as well.
Oh cool.
Back like that was one of my kind of first serious
Yeah.
guitars, and then it came with this Floyd Rose, and I had no clue
Oh.
on what to do with it, and I was just like, "What is this?" I was like, "Oh, it does this noise," and then twang, and you look, "Oh, okay, how do I fix it?"
Okay. I've never had a guitar with Floyd Rose. I've been like the fixed bridge guy, kind of.
Yeah, you're either a fixed bridge or a Floyd Rose person. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm slowly going away from the Floyd Roses.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So, like, it's funny mentioning Linkin Park. So, say, you and me are both roughly the same age, I believe. So, you
Mhm.
know, all the people kind of in our generation, we all had that thing of you were at some point listening to Linkin Park or, like Slipknot,
Yeah,
Green Day.
yeah,
Those bands were so like massively influential, weren't they, at the time?
absolutely.
It's a shame as when I guess when you think about it as well, there's other bands, I guess, that shall not be named that were on some video games that were, a relatively big band, but then obviously
Yeah.
certain things happened. So kind of when you'd started deviating into the metalcore scene, what was it about that kind of really drew you further deeper into that rabbit hole rather than sort of like, the new metal?
Um, I think basically I was like kind of following what my kind of like what my brain wanted to hear. Kind of yeah, such a weird thing to explain. So actually, I started with like kind of like a heavy band, which is obviously Linkin Park compared to like Foo Fighters or Green Day. Obviously, I started with something heavier because obviously you had like Chester Bennington like doing like proper screams and like I think Linkin Park they play in drop B or A. So obviously they were like a proper full on new metal band from the 2000s. But I don't know. I kind of like then sat there like into the uh, rock world for a few years, and then I discovered like yeah, when I was like in my 13s, 14s, I discovered like Avenged Sevenfold, and then I went to obviously Metallica, and then I remember that. But obviously those bands were like with clean vocals, and then I think one day like on YouTube randomly I listened to Tribune, and obviously they had like obviously proper screams. I was like, oh, that's very
Damn.
heavy. Yeah, I was like, that's very heavy. They scream. I was like, that's very cool. And then that was it. From there, I was like, obviously listening to like more metalcore bands like Trivium, Killswitch Engage, August Runs Red, and then I was like, I don't know, you know that feeling. You got that itch. It's like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And
Yeah.
then and I wasn't like a kind of contest, but basically my brain was like completely open to listen to that music. So I was like embracing it. I was like, this is very cool. And then I got by 2012 or so. I was like basically at uni, and I listened to Periphery, which was I'm still a fan, but yeah, that also blew me away. I listened to Periphery too, and that was like quite heavy compared to everything what I was listening to. And then basically, yeah, I kept listening to stuff, and I still listen kind of everything. But obviously, like those years in the past when I was like more focused on like rock and metal music, I was like listening to just to that one. But for the last few years, I kind of like open the whole spectrum, and then I can listen from I don't know from Tame Impala to like the Black Dahlia Murder, and I'm happy with both. So
It's like if you've got like a playlist on Spotify and you just click shuffle, it's always you'll get such a random selection of
yeah,
songs. Like you can go from say like playing Killswitch Engage and you'll have like maybe Toska or say like Periphery, then all of a sudden, like for me, like Lady Gaga or
yeah,
something will come on and it's just like, okay, that's a bit of a
yeah, big gap.
yeah. But it's kind of like, I mean, I've spoke to, and I think you probably remember when I spoke to John Conner and Phil Diabell, it's like pop
Yeah,
music has become so pivotal, especially in more modern music now today, as much as I hate it, because the thing that stands out for me when I listen to the Sea Upon Us material is the mixes are so well done.
oh
It's
thanks.
nothing is getting lost, like, the lower frequencies in the guitars aren't getting muddled by the bass, and it's so kind of where did you really learn to get a good type mix? Was there something that really helped you with that?
Oh well, first of all, like thank you so much because everything that we do is like completely DIY. So basically, as I said, this was like my solo thing. So back in 2016, when I bought well before I bought everything, I was like, okay, I've had like experiences in the past that obviously I pay someone to mix my stuff, but they are not like emotionally invested in the music. So it doesn't matter how many revisions you do, it doesn't sound good, and you're like, okay. So basically, I got to a point in my life that I was like, okay, I can work with, at the moment, I can work with musicians, and I can work with people that can mix and master my stuff. So the difficult role here is like basically you just need to learn everything by yourself, because basically I was like heavily like emotionally involved with this. So I had no idea what to do, but obviously I was like, okay, I bought my gear, and now I'm just gonna open YouTube. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
watch hours, well, not hours, years of tutorials, worth of tutorials, and I had no idea. I had no idea how to open a DAW or DAW. And basically, I spent from 2016 till I opened the actual C upon us account in basically end of 2019 and early 2020. Basically, behind the scenes, I was like basically banging my head like through a wall, saying, I'm so bad doing this," and it was so difficult. It probably was one of the most difficult things I've done in my life, like learning from scratch with no training how to make stuff. So once I was like kind of happy with the quality of the stuff, I was like, okay, I think I can like open the account and then show some stuff to the people. So it's basically YouTube and patience, and yeah, that's
Did
how it
you
is.
watch the video of Misha Mansour when he was talking about doing all the double checking? Because that was one of the ones that when I come across it, and because back at night, I look back and I think, oh God, I was so like stupid and
I
naive when I was doing covers and
No,
whatnot.
I know. I was, yeah. So, yeah, it's a good point that you mentioned them, because they helped me a lot in terms of the production, because they are also a DIY band, and that's something I really respect from them. They, even to this point, they also track, mix, and kind of like not they don't master everything by themselves, but I was like kind of like I wanted that approach, so that's what I did. So they've got like a few tutorials out there, and then obviously if you're like into the Instagram kind of like scene as well, obviously with Get Good Drums, they also got very handy and long and detailed tutorials of how to mix a song like into the like the rock metal kind of genre. So yeah, I was kind of like following their steps. I was like, but what's kind of EQ and compression? What was that? And
Yeah.
basically, yeah. You end up learning all that stuff, but yeah, it was tough. But yeah,
It's like that meme of when you find out the compressor you've been tweaking for the last 20 minutes is in bypass mode, and you're like, and then you eventually turn it on and it just sounds like shit.
I've done it so many times, like doing EQ moves, and you're like, I can hear that 2K, and then you're just like, okay, yeah, of course, it was bypass, and then obviously it sounds like shit. But yeah,
Yeah, it's something I still struggle with. Like, I think compression and like the multi-band
yeah,
compressors, I think I've found personally for me they've been the most useful sort
yeah,
of sort of tool. So we'll talk about the Sea Upon Us because they've got a pretty you've only had the account for what 2 years, a year or two
yeah.
years, and
Hmm.
you've already hit in 2,000 followers, which is it's pretty good already. And you've even got people like Doug Castro kind of
Yeah,
following you, so it's not like it's nothing. They have got, or you have got a good following behind that.
yeah.
So how is
Thanks.
with having Doug Castro following you, is that kind of giving you then more of enthusiasm to be using stuff like the Neural DSP products? Because you and me both love
Oh yeah,
the
I
plugins.
love them. And even though I'm not sponsored by any brands, but basically I can tell you like on my heart, like what I love using. Obviously, I love using, and the basic is basically what I used in the whole album, because I did the mix. Obviously, I tracked and mixed everything by myself, and then Justin Woodward, which is basically the other guitar of the See Upon Us, he's basically doing the mastering and the last bits of the mix and the vocal production. So he's doing a very good work. But on my side, what I use for this first album, near DSP, I use Archetype Nolly and 14 Kali for guitars. I used Parallax by Near DSP as well for bass. Submission Audio, it's for MIDI bass, and then Get Good Drums for drums. And it's basically the reason why. Before I was using another brands that I'm not gonna name off, obviously not to compare them. But basically, I think nowadays, hands down, it's the standard for like not even bedroom producers, for all kinds of levels of producers. It's basically, in my opinion, the best products out there. Um,
I think some products can be a bit too convoluted and be too kind of like complex, whereas, so, excuse me, but the neural plugins and with Get Good, it's really simple. It is
exactly.
literally you open and away you go.
Exactly. And that's, I think that's what the reason why they are so good, because back in the day when you had to use like another brands, but obviously with the technology they've improved like plugins and MIDI, they improved them like in a few years so much that now it's like what you said, you can open and play, you can literally like open a drum library and a bass, and which is basically an amp sim, and it sounds awesome. You just need to do a couple of tweaks, good to go. You can do pre-production, you can do demos, you can do full production like me. So yeah, there's no limit. It's so good.
Have you found that the classical training that you've kind of got from the younger days has been quite useful then in terms of actually kind of working out, say you've got guitar part A and you're looking to move that into a guitar part B, for example. So do you think that the classical training has helped you learn the harmonies a lot better and things like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I think that's a very good point. So um, for me, songwriting is such a complex and personal approach. So, for example, the way that you can write a song might be completely the approach can be completely different compared to mine. So, I think it's something completely personal, and I think that's something like fascinates me. So, I don't know how you do stuff, but basically, if I got a guitar, or even if I don't have a guitar, normally, like, this sounds weird, but when I'm at work, I'm thinking about lots of melodies. I'm working basically, and I've got basically something completely random in my head. I'm like, I cannot miss this.
My some of my colleagues hate me work because, like, we've got a theatre case going on. I'm sat on the stool in the corner. I'm just like, go,
Exactly.
and I'm tapping away because I've got a beat in my head, and I'm like, sorry.
Exactly. That's me. So basically, what I do, I basically try to follow what my brain tells me to do. So basically, if I got a melody, my brain will tell me what's the next note, which is weird. So it can be either by accident playing, or probably because of my like basically all the music that I've been listening to over the years, and my classical influence basically will guide me to say, okay, this where this like riff should finish here or whatever. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like a very interesting process. But yeah, I think classical music made a big difference for me.
I mean, I've had like I'm probably the same issue, well, not the same issue, but I've had no prior music training or
Mm-hmm.
experience. And literally, mine was I saw Rammstein. I was like, I want to do that. Went to buy a guitar, and then I was like, okay, what the fuck do I actually do? I think that's been the biggest problem. I think with the internet and
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is that it's great for people trying to pick up a guitar and learn the instrument,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't teach you like how to properly use the instrument,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And I think that probably a lot of people struggle with now
yeah,
is
yeah,
YouTube and Ultimate Guitar tabs can only teach you so
yeah,
much.
exactly.
I've I've found that when I've written a song at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
it was, I wouldn't say it was a happy mistake, but I was fiddling around with the Get Good drums, the One Hit Wonder,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I've made a song so about a minute and a half long, and I was like, picked up my guitar and I was like, hold on, I've got no clue what time signature this is in.
Okay.
And I was trying to work it out, and I was just like 1, 2, 3. Well, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. I think I worked out it was something like 6, 8, and I was like, how? I was like, how have I written something in 6, 8? I don't know how I've done it.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of wish that I had like a good theory or proper
Yeah.
music knowledge
Yeah.
to properly break that down.
I think like if I'm completely honest, like for like anyone like listening this podcast, in my personal experience, I would say um I can't even like the music I'm writing, I've been writing like all these years, I don't use any of that knowledge I learned like back in the day. So I'm not like, okay, I'm in this key and next chord is gonna be like, because I don't know the name of the chords if I'm completely honest. I just basically
No,
follow
me
my
neither.
gut. So if anyone is listening, it's like something I want like really like people to understand is that music theory is like absolutely amazing if you know how to use it, but don't get discouraged if you don't have that knowledge.
Mm,
Basically follow your gut, write whatever you want to write, don't even call any names. Obviously you just need to know like a bit of like like obviously the time signature and stuff like that, but don't get completely discouraged by music theory. Try to write whatever you want to write, because that's basically what I do. I'm like, basically the other day I was asking what kind of chord is this, because basically even with the chords I've used on my guitar, I never seen them, but basically it's the thing that I want to hear. So basically I made that shape. I'm like, okay, that's cool, and I'm just gonna use it. So just go for it. There's no rules.
that was a big thing with me when I first come across Rabia, and then seeing like some of the chord shapes that he
Oh,
uses. And I've definitely used, that's like my writing style now, is I use those kind of very odd like major and minor shapes that he uses. And I was at an audition not too long ago, and they were like, "Oh, what chord's that?" And I was just like, it's like an 8 missing 2 strings, a 7 and a 10. I was like, don't ask me what no chord is, because I
exactly.
got
It
no
sounds good.
clue.
It sounds good.
Yeah, and that's it. I think you just have to, sometimes you do have to just go with what feels and sounds right. it,
Exactly.
it may not make sense musically, but it might fit the mood.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And that's basically that core I'm talking about. For me, gives me the vibes I want, which is basically that dark, and that's a word I use a lot on my social media. It's like that spooky vibe that I like to basically say with music. But yeah, now that you're talking about it, I think this is a good cap. Now that we can talk about both at the same time. So Rabia Masad and Black Peaks. That's the reason why I love your shirt. Shirt, yeah.
I
They
was
are.
I was so gutted the other day when they
I
said they
know.
were splitting up, man.
I am so sad. It's basically one of my favorite bands ever.
Oh, I love Black Peaks.
I mean,
Joe, Liam, like if any of you like are listening, guys, like we love you. Like
yeah,
we need more content. I know it's not going to happen, but we
I know.
we miss you already.
Their latest record, it's a masterpiece in my opinion. It's so good.
King.
No, that's the
Oh,
single. So
the Across the Black
yeah,
Divide. Yeah, yeah.
it's so good. It's
Mm.
basically I was hammering that album for like 2 years straight. It's so good. I love it. And then the reason why I love them also is Rabi Masad, which is I think he's kind of influenced by them and by Carnival as well. So it's
Yeah.
basically you got that Carnival, Black Peaks, and Rabia all together. They got like something in common, and it's so good. It's basically Rabia
It's weird
Masad
because
might be
I've never
like
been able to
my
get into
favorite guitar
Carnival.
player.
Carnival, I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and I just, even though they are like Tusker are heavily influenced by them, I can't get
Oh yeah,
into the
Tosca.
Carnival at all. But I have 3 standout moments for me with Black Peaks, and one is in Drones. You've got that like kind of orchestral calm intro, and then the dud 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 of the bass that
Yeah.
comes in, and it's just like, oh
The bass tones of that band, they are so nasty, so
yeah.
dark, so heavy. It's unbelievable.
2 is when Home kicks in with that octave riff, and it's, oh, that one's killer. And I love the drums in King.
Yeah.
Did you watch? Did you have tickets to that live stream event one that they did? I thought that was
Yeah,
really well good.
it was
The
awesome.
production was sublime.
Awesome. I love every bit of it. Yeah, it was. I loved it. And also something that we share in common: the love for like Silverburst guitars. I've got one. Joe's got one as well. So yeah, it's all.
I would love, absolutely love a nice. I know it's going to sound not douchey, but everyone's going, oh, you're just saying that. But Silverburst Les Paul custom. Oh,
That's literally my
oh,
favorite guitar ever. Period. That's it. That's basically. Obviously, I can't afford that, but I've been like absolutely obsessed with that guitar for since I saw it like years ago, like probably like 13, 14 years ago.
well, the first guitar I ever saw, like, because when I was younger and music, I wasn't hugely into it when I was kind of like, up between, from being born up to like 10. Music, it wasn't huge for me, but if I saw it, it was always like the typical black and white Strats or like like the tea stain Les Paul or tobacco stain Les Pauls.
Yeah.
And then when I'd seen the Rammstein footage that my uncle had shown me, and I seen that silver guitar, and I was like, what the fuck is that? I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And there is just something about silver on a guitar that just works, whether it's
Yeah.
all silver, whether it's a silver burst, or like you see
Yeah.
the reverse silver burst, so it's black into
Yeah.
silver. They are just the best.
Yeah, but I don't know why, but like me particularly, I'm not like a massive fan of just silver, but I don't know what's with Silverburst. I see any guitar on Silverburst, I'm like, it's awesome. I want to have it.
Yeah, if I could have like an entire wall of silver burst
Exactly.
guitars, I
I
probably
could
would.
have like my entire collection of guitars in the future, just Silverburst, and I'm happy with that.
One of the
And then,
guitars I was always surprised for you was this, you had that I think it was the Harley Benton one that looked like a PRS.
yeah,
That guitar was bloody good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It looked
Basically,
great
well,
and it sounded great.
yeah, well, in terms of the sound, I swapped the guitars, the pickup, sorry, for bare knuckles.
Ah,
So that's why.
ah,
Yeah, I bought they've got like an economic, not like an economic range, which is the boot camp.
oh yeah, the boot camp ones.
Yeah, so that's basically what introduced me to the brand. I loved it because I was like, okay, like because back in the day, like a few years ago, I couldn't afford like a decent guitar, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get something like okay, but then obviously I want to upgrade the most important thing in my opinion, which are the pickups, and I did that. I was like, okay, cool. Now, last year I sold it to get my Silverburst Balaguer, but now I'm like, okay, I still want to have like some bare knuckles, so I'm just gonna basically buy a
What are you
set.
gonna go
Like
for?
I'm gonna get. I was doing some research and obviously I emailed them and they are so nice. I've been emailed them like a few times and they are like so kind. They just basically reply me like in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, very good.
They so basically my other guitar player in the band, Justin, he's also getting a custom Balaguer that he's ordered, and he's gonna get a silo on the bridge. So, and I was like, I wanted that one, but obviously he ordered that first. I was like, okay, I emailed Bare Knuckle. I was like, I just want something different because obviously we are thinking about like writing stuff together, obviously for the new EP or album or whatever. So I wanted something to pair with the silo, and they were like, okay, I would get a Rebel Yell on the bridge, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go for that one because if they recommend me that, obviously they know their product. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with it.
I would, if I mean, obviously, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I would just wait a little bit for the next release from Bare Knuckle.
That was my plan B as well. I know that I've seen one on the internet. Some people using that one, and I know the name.
Yeah,
I'm like, I've been waiting for a few months. I was like, shall I wait because I'm very curious about that one.
yeah. I mean, my ML1 beer is going on Monday, and it's kind of like I'm getting rid of my first child in a way
Okay.
because it's getting relicked.
Oh.
Yes. Um, It is getting the proper Rabia massage treatment.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. And I'm hoping to get a couple of silos put in it. I'm hoping.
Nice.
But and the only problem is I've got a folder literally on my laptop of about 18 different variations I've done of the silo people. I like that one, but I like that one, but I like that
I
one,
know.
but I like that one. But my winner at the moment is the aged nickel covers with the black screw poles. And
Nice.
it just looks
That's a
absolutely
very nice
sublime.
combo. Yeah, that's a very nice combo.
So let's talk about your beluga, because you and me were talking. I think it's about this time last year actually, because I was telling you that I was
Yeah.
getting the RZK, and you were saying you were looking at the beluga. So what was it that kind of drew you into that?
So with Balaguer guitars, so basically I know them basically since I started, like in 2014, 15. So basically like a big name in the guitar community. So Ryan Fluff,
Yeah,
he started like demoing those guitars when they started like around 2015. I was like, oh,
because to be
that's pretty
honest,
cool because
I'd never heard of them until you showed me.
okay. So because basically for me personally, I like classic looking guitars. So that's kind of like my thing. So I've been like into like the classic shapes all my life, but I don't mind when they those guitars they've got like a kind of like a modern twist. So I anything like it's kind of like into the classic territory. I'm into it. So obviously I was following the brand for a long time, and they were like for the first years they were like a boutique brand. Obviously they were doing just custom orders. I was like, okay, that's completely out of my budget at the moment. So but for the last couple of years they were doing basically like it's not like it's a mix between custom and what's it called, like production models. So
Yeah,
basically they were doing like a limited run with their specs. So basically they were doing like a few models with a few specs, and they were like doing that like a limited run. I don't know what the number. They were doing that like overseas, yes, obviously just to make them cheaper. They will do the QC back in the US. They are from Pennsylvania, and then they will basically sell them. And I was like, oh, that's very cool. So I had a few guitars like last year, because obviously I had like kind of cheap guitars with some upgrades here and there. I was like, okay, now I think this is the time to sell all those guitars, get a decent one, and then stick to that one. So they on the website they were like saying, okay, these are the models that we are gonna release, and then they basically they got that one, which is basically like a modern shape Jaguar on
yeah.
Silverburst, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. I need to sell my guitars and get that one because I was like on the fence for a long time, and then I was like, Silverburst, good price, I need to get that.
Yeah, it ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, exactly.
So we touched on upon it with Rabia Massad. So kind of he isn't a household name, but if you're a metal guitarist, you know the name. What was it about Rabia that kind of drew you into him?
Um, I think I know him from the very beginning. So I remember that he went when he was like doing collabs in Undertones, and then that was like back in the day. I was like still like living in Spain, and then I was like, I remember that one day he had like a YouTube channel, which is basically probably his current YouTube channel, but obviously that was like 8 years ago or so.
Doing all the extreme covers and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I am, if he's listening, I'm an OG basically. I've been like always there. And then, but he's also have a very unique style of playing. He's very unique. I can basically compare to anyone else. Obviously, he can play anything, so he can play like extreme. He's like into all that stuff. But whenever he starts like playing his own stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, this sounds like very cool. It's like a very cool blend between like very modern rock slash metal, but with a very dark mood, I'm like, okay, I'm completely like down. And then yeah, I remember that he was in Dorche with Rob Chapman as well, and I was following him. Basically, yeah, I was like following like everywhere on the internet, and then he released the first EP, All to the Author by
Yeah,
Toska, and that was it. That was like, all right, now we are talking. This is
yeah.
absolutely amazing. And that's
That's
it.
the same sort of thing for me. I was following him from very early on, like say when he was doing kind of those like extreme covers and started at Andertons and whatnot. And then say like to the Author came out, kind of obviously I know it was off the back of Chase and Jade and whatnot, but it's like okay, yeah, because originally Dorje, I loved Dorje, and then this kind of came out, I was like, oh yeah, this is something.
Yeah,
And then I kind of came more aligned to that. And actually, it'll remind me I need to hook you up with something after this. So I'll make sure I don't forget that.
sure.
But yeah, there's something about, I think because he used to drum or does drum, he's got that percussiveness, and I think
Yeah,
that's what sends it out. But for me, it's not his metal playing or his riffs or his solos that works for me. For me, it's when clean channel, big reverb and delay, and
yeah,
then you get them ambient tones, and I could listen to that
yeah,
for months, years,
yeah.
decades on end. I love it.
He's so good. Yeah, he's so good doing that. I think last year or like a year and a half or so, he released like an ambient song. I can't remember the name of the song. He released that on his YouTube.
Asylum.
Yeah, it's what you said. It's like he's clean playing. It's so beautiful and so unique. Like every note that he chooses to play, it's so beautiful. And I'm like, oh my god, he's. And then Tosca is that. Tosca is like incredibly like open ambient guitars with crushing heavy riffs all
Yeah,
together. I'm
I
like,
mean, I have their walnut brain right there.
yeah, I realized I was like, yep, he's a
And
fan.
yeah, it was kind of weird when I'd met him the first time I got to meet him was after a Dorje gig,
Okay.
and obviously I touched upon it in the Phil Dyer episode where and like Bob was doing autographs and whatnot, and then I wanted to go chat to Rabia because obviously I was well into the Tosca sort of stuff by this point. And then, but like as soon as I went up to Rabia to say hello, they were all like, "All right, everybody out, curfew, blah blah blah." And I was like, "No, what's going on?" And then obviously he went and did the Tosca tour. I met him after, I chatted to him after the Birmingham show in Tosca, and then the clinic again. And it's what's very interesting as well is how humble he is actually as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't big himself up, or he's not. I was speaking to somebody about the new archetype, the Tim Henson one, and I said it looks beautiful, and I said the tones on it sound extremely good, but I will not pay any money that's got his name on it because I think Tim Henson, sorry, Tim, if you're listening, I don't care, but he's a knob. He just looks like that sort of person that he's only doing it for the money.
Right.
I don't think he has a proper love and a passion for the guitar. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am, whatever. But um, I know a few people that have met him, and apparently he was an absolute prick in real life.
Okay.
And when I've met Rob and Rabia and whatnot, I've never, even like meeting Mikey Demas and whatnot, I've never seen them show any sort of arrogance. Is arrogance the right
Yeah,
word? I think.
yeah. He looks like a cool guy. Yeah, he seems like yeah, very humble. So yeah, I'm a big fan as well. So yeah.
And the hair is as soft as it looks.
That's good to know.
So kind of coming from Spain
Mm-hmm.
to England,
Mm-hmm.
especially working in the NHS as well, because it's hard not to talk about it when we both do it.
Yeah.
But did you find any difficulties then, like coming here and having to kind of, I guess, learn English, going to then obviously work in healthcare? Did you find it difficult?
Um. Yeah, I think probably it's one of the most challenging things I've done in my entire life. Like, yeah, it is. It's a massive change in all everything that you can imagine, it's a massive change. So obviously the biggest thing that you can imagine, obviously, moving away from your hometown, yeah, that's difficult, obviously not. And then I was like living with, like, back then I was like living with my parents, so it's basically you just get away from everything on your own to a different country with a different weather, culture, language. So yeah, it's tough, and not all everyone can do that, because that's basically my experience. I've been like working with friends and colleagues, and then they just go back to like their hometowns, because obviously it's tough. It's physically and mentally tough. So um, I got used to it, and I really like living here, having in Manchester now for. I mean, in the UK since 2015, but I've been in Manchester since 17, and I like it here. But yeah, it's tough.
How has working at at the moment affecting in yourself, say, because I know what IT is like.
Yeah,
It can either be a relative, if you've got like a level of 1 or a level 2 or something like that, you can't, it's plain saying if you've got a 3 or a 4,
yeah,
you know,
it's that's kind of my case now. So
yeah. So how have you found it during COVID? And
it's it's been also very tough. So yeah, probably like this past year and a half has been the toughest year of my life. If I'm completely honest with you, it's been very positive in terms of like the music side, but apart from that, everything else has been bad. I've been lucky, obviously, that I don't live on my own, so I live with my wife, which is basically from my hometown as well, and I've got a kid, so it's all, yeah. I got my tiny family here at home, but apart from that, it's been very very challenging. Mentally, yeah, it's been tough, but something I kind of learned from all this, it's that I think we all need to look after like ourselves, like physically and mentally, especially mentally. So that's something I've realized that it's such an important thing. So that's what I've been trying to do actually. Obviously, there was a point that you just can't cope anymore, and then you just need to think, okay, I can keep with this. So I just need to do some changes in my life in order to do some, I don't know, like get out of this situation. So obviously the the I mean, obviously my, in terms of like how is it going on in my job, it's the same. Nothing has changed, but obviously I have changed. That's kind of like how I've been coping. But yeah, it's, as you can imagine, it's been tough.
yeah, it's definitely not been easy, especially like, you come into, I mean, it's probably a different case for us, but sometimes we go into work not knowing whether we're going to do any cases or not because of bed
Yeah.
situations and whatnot. So what would you say, this is a question I always find can be,
Hmm.
and you have an interesting answer, but what would you say is your biggest kind of faults, whether it's been, whether it's guitar playing or music or work, because everybody has something that they admit that they're not good at. Like me, is my attention span is crap.
I know. I am. I can. I feel you. I'll feel you there.
So like what do you find is your biggest drawback and your biggest strength?
Um.
Like what would you like to improve?
Oh well, if we are talking about, obviously this is called the Guitar Geeks, so
Yeah.
I am probably I'm not an actual. I mean, a guitar geek itself, yeah, kind of, but I'm not like into specs or like super fancy stuff. I mean, I've got one pedal, so that says everything, and it's the drop pedal. So I'm not, obviously I love guitar gear, but I don't know. I'm more focused on production, but something I will probably like say to myself, I just need to get better. It's like playing guitar.
Yeah.
That's, and hands down, it's, yeah. I'm very bad. As you said, I'm quite patient to many things, but in terms of like practicing, I'm very bad. So I never practice. Yeah, I should get better.
And what are you most proud of?
Um, I'm very stubborn in a good way. So basically, I feel quite proud now that I'm kind of like at the end of the tunnel in terms of like my this musical journey that basically I managed on the kind of like on the worst circumstances, like of not having anyone around me, no members of the band, nothing, no gear, no knowledge. I was like, okay, uh, if I'm very passionate about something, I will try to make it happen. And that's how I feel with the Sea Upon Us, which is basically, it's now obviously a band, but it's been my baby. So I'm like, if I'm completely passionate, I want to release good quality music on my own because I can't afford like studio time. So I'm just gonna make it happen, and it's happening. So I feel very proud about that.
Was it quite difficult finding the right people to fit into the roles that you were looking for?
Actually, it wasn't something I planned, so it basically happened. So that's why I thank the obviously the time that we live in and the internet, because it was basically kind of luck and random. So um, basically this first EP is basically a collab between me, which I wrote like basically all the music, and Anthony, which is the vocalist. He's from the US. He's the only one from the US. The rest of us we live in the UK. So it's kind of like a UK band, but obviously we got a vocalist from the US. So I found him on the most random situation ever. And then the same with Justin. So Justin, he's from basically an hour from Manchester. I met him. Well, I met all of them on Instagram. So it was basically sharing stuff, commenting, being nice, like basically like me and you, like
Mm.
chatting. And then we just like share some demos. And then I thought, okay, what if we write some stuff together? Because I think that we share like lots of things in common. And then yeah, that's how everything happened.
I'm definitely looking forward to this EP or short
Yeah,
album, whatever
yeah.
way you wanna word it. So, kind of, what is going to be the big goal with the Sea Upon Us? Would you like it to end up becoming a live show, or are you happy with just keeping it as that? The writing material.
So if I'm completely honest with you, when everything started, because obviously I kind of like a very realistic person, so I got obviously that's something I've been always all my life. I got my like feet on the ground, and I'm like quite realistic. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like obviously when I started everything like a year and a half ago or so, I was like, I just take this very seriously, but my own goal was like, okay, I'm just gonna release music, and if anyone can enjoy the music, I'm good. But the thing is that I'm kind of like having like a snowball effect now. So that's also thanks to Anthony, the vocalist. He's kind of like asking this like the specific questions, and that's creating that itch in me. Like, okay, what if we do things? Why don't we go like a next step? So um, I obviously my original idea was like to make things like as an internet band, but now basically my plan with all this is basically releasing our first thing, which is basically in theory is like my first thing under the name of the Sea Upon Us. But from we are like actually writing like stuff for a second album or EP. We haven't decided yet. But from that moment, I think I'm like trying to do some research of how can we do things alive. Maybe try to play some things live, or maybe just to play, make it as an actual band.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah. I guess yeah, having a vocalist over in America probably isn't the easiest way to.
No, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but it's worth it. So I'm gonna fight for it. It's so good. So yeah.
Are we going to get like any special guests?
On the CP,
Yes.
or so actually on our first single, so the Black Widows Girls, we had a basically a friend of mine. He played the solo. Um, but I don't know if you know a guy on the internet. It's from Italy. It's called I don't know.
Davy
Sorry, forgot.
504.
No, it's not him. It's a guy called Rocco Petzing. Is
No.
I'll send you his Instagram. He is a very good player, absolutely underrated. Basically, when I did last Christmas, like a big collab with many guitar players.
Yes, I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's the last one on that collab, and he's absolutely fantastic. So on that at that point, that I was like chatting with him quite often. I was like, hey, I've got a section here which I think deserves like a decent solo. Not my kind of solos because I suck at lead playing. I was like an actual solo, and he played it, and it's unbelievable. So yeah, whenever we got the whole thing ready, the whole EP ready, I'll send you a link so you can listen to that before it comes out, and then I'll tell you, yeah, that's a solo.
Yeah, I've noticed as I've gotten older that like I guess when I was younger, I'd see Kirk Hammett go, and I'd be like, oh yeah, man, that is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then like now, I don't care for so much for solos.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Basically,
I'm not saying that I wouldn't obviously like I love listening to solos, but playing them now, I'm just like, nah.
I'm always being that kind of guy. I'm being all the time into like rhythm playing. I enjoy 100% way more playing any kind of like rhythm parts, like any lead parts. That's my nature. For whatever reason, I wrote like a few solos here and there on this first EP because it was like kind of like it's a conceptual album. So it was like kind of like my way of doing some like storytelling, and it was basically like as a resource. I wasn't like into, oh yeah, I want to play like a sick lead part or a sick solo in here. So I was like, well, if the part of this song needs like a lead, okay, I'll play it. But I can see like a massive difference now from the first EP comparing to the new material. There's no leads, there's no solos. I'm way more focused on how the song will make you feel and the vibe and how heavy it might be, that like comparing that to any solo. So I think there won't be any solos like from now on at the moment. So I'm happy with that because I'm not a lead player. So
Like a thing that kind of really worked when I kind of really understood about a solo fitting was, funny enough, it was to do with Metallica. And because obviously Sintanga, as much as people, a lot of people diss on that album, Sintanga has no guitar solos because they said they were going to put some in at the end, but it didn't sound like they
oh
fitted
really?
into
I
it.
didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently they did actually record some solos at the end, but they never put them in because they
Okay.
didn't fit the songs. And then when I saw them in Manchester, 2019, I guess it would have been, yeah,
Oh yeah,
2019.
I remember that. Yeah.
And they did and they played Saint Anger, and Kirk Hammett actually put a solo in it live. And for me, it didn't work. It just didn't fit the song. And that was when I was kind of like, you don't have to put in a lead, like going back to Rabia, the way he does it, he will add those little, like a 2/4, little.
Yeah.
That for me works better than having a Zach Wild solo
Yeah.
fucking going on for 10 minutes. I'm like, nah, I'm bored of
Yeah.
that.
That's basically why I'm not into lead play, even though obviously I really appreciate like guitar players like Jason Richardson. He is basically like a living computer. He's so good. Or like Tosin Abasi, or like obviously the most like absolutely amazing guitar players out there. I really appreciate that. But obviously, I it's not for me. It's not like lead playing. It's not for me. And then you can basically my favorite music probably hasn't got like main solo. So yeah, I'm
So
happy with
like
that.
take Tosca for example, like the
Example exactly.
closest they have to a solo, I would say, is in Alumo after the
Oh
quiet
yeah,
like the kind
yeah.
of the quiet section. But it's a solo, but it's not a solo, but it
It's like a lead.
works.
It's like a lead part, and it's cool. Yeah, it's cool for the part. Yeah, and it serves its purpose. So it's all
I mean,
all cool.
I don't like this guitarist personally, but the Edge from U2, I'm not a huge fan of him, but you know him and I guess Brian May to an extent, who I love, they only play the solos for what works rather than playing it for the sake of it.
Exactly.
And I think that's what a lot of people kind of lose track of. I'll
Yeah,
scroll through Instagram, you know, you're looking at guitar posts and
oh,
whatnot, and it's full now of people
I
that
know.
they'll either do um, cover Hotel California, Sweet
Oh
Child of
no.
Mine, or they do like,
I am so sick of it now, man. I've been like actively on Instagram like since I started this account, and I spend just nowadays I spend minutes on the account because I just get sick of it. It's if you go to the discovery page and you see the accounts that have got the most views, the most likes, the most shares, it's the same old riffs over
mm,
and over, the same angle, and I'm like, why people don't appreciate like obviously having an own voice? Why do we stick to the same old songs, same old cover? I mean, I got nothing wrong with that, but why? It's like I don't know. It's like so frustrating to me. And then you've got like so many underground bands out there, and then people is like basically just appreciating the classics all
yeah,
over again. I'm like, I'm so sick of it.
like for me, it's kind of it's the same thing. You scroll through Discover and you can tell that the like say somebody's doing Hotel California or something like that. It's so um superimposed and stuff like that that you can
Exactly.
tell, like say if you when you and me have done playthroughs or covers or whatever, you film it as you record it, you know, like to be fair, like I will record like maybe two tracks first and then I on the live take I'll record that one that gets used in the song.
Hmm.
You can tell none of these ones are actually recorded there and then, and it is a shame because it's, you know, people like, you know, yourself or Insurgent or
Yeah,
Axiom or Tusker or whatever, those bands that are relatively, let's be honest, not hit, you know, not massive,
yeah,
that have
yeah,
got
yeah.
far more technical and musical ability than somebody just playing a song that's been
Exactly.
done billions of times.
Exactly. I think that the question that you need to ask yourself: am I giving anything? What's your input in all this? Am I doing anything to the actual like? Just imagine like the internet like rock and metal thing. Am I doing anything near?
Mm,
It's like I don't know, and then you can tell, as you said, that you can tell that those people they just do it for the likes, the follows, the shares. It's so cheesy and so I don't know. It's the same content over and over again. It's basically you just change the guitar and the face by exactly the same thing. And
yeah.
then obviously, if there's a demand, the social media platforms will push that content. So it's like basically like a vicious cycle
Mm,
that yeah you can run away from it, but it's like okay, this doesn't make any sense. So obviously, in my opinion, I think people should like obviously encourage like creativity and like the and that's basically what I follow on my social media. If you give me something new, I appreciate it's good, but if
yeah.
those cover guys, it's not for me.
Yeah, it's, you know, when I share covers or, you know, like when I'm sharing stuff for the podcast, and it's always like, oh, PM me for promotion. And yeah, and like my biggest bugbear with that is like, you know, you would have a look, for example, I think as if Riff Wars or one of the pages like that would do it. And it's like, you know, pay us X amount and we'll directly, you know, promote your account or
Yeah.
song or whatever. So say you pay £40 for your 1 minute clip to be put on their story or their wall, but you know full well that the people aren't going to click on your name. And I think that's the problem. People like will take other people's content, But then, we know it, like you scroll through stories and you'll see a post that, you might react to it, but you're never actually going to go to the actual person. And I can't remember who it was I was speaking to, but I was saying it's not about the amount of followers you have. I think it is the quality of the followers that matters.
Exactly. You just nailed it, man. I just been obviously kind of like studying like all this like kind of like social media, obviously on my own experience. So and you just basically nailed it. It's not the number on that front page, which obviously the actual platform encourages you to get that number bigger. But it's not about that's something I learned. It's not about the number. It's about the quality and the engagement and how people enjoy that content.
Mm.
It's so crucial. But yeah, and then it's also something that you need to ask yourself. It's like, what do I need to be known for? It's like, do I need to be known? Like, do I want to be known as the cover guy, that cover guy, or do I want to be known for, I don't know, that like that guy that's got a band called the Seapons, for example. They got like a very niche sound, but whoever likes it, they really enjoy it. I rather live in a small bubble and small community of people that really likes what I do, like that being like, okay, I got 50K followers, but here's Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I guess it's like, if you were playing, would you rather play a stadium that's got, say, 10,000 people, but only 3 people in that 10,000 actually know and like you and support you? Or would you rather play a gig to 50 people where everybody has that love and the passion?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, unfortunately, it's kind of what it's like now. Everybody wants that stadium thing because followers equals money, but
Numbers.
yeah, unfortunately. But sometimes, it isn't always the case. But
You just need to stick to your whatever you. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like down to the person. Do you want those numbers and those followers and those like fire emojis all over again, or do you actually want like to build something? Because that's the easy thing is like basically to play something that someone else has written, but do you want to build something on your own, which is the difficult path, obviously.
yeah,
If you want to like create like a brand and a personality out there on the internet, it's tough because obviously the market is like absolutely saturated. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
it's so difficult. So it's the difficult thing to do, but it's at the end of the day, it's up to you. Whatever you want to do.
It's like, I guess, are you happy just doing what you're doing, or would you rather have to suck up and do like, oh, this video is sponsored by War Robots, and then talk about the 10 worst guitar fails, and it's just like, but it's the same thing that everybody's bloody done.
Yeah.
I'm not shooting fire at other people's YouTube channels. I'm just saying, yes, we've seen it. Yes, we've seen Nick Jonas, fucking mess up his guitar solo on stage too many times.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to about an hour and a half, so kind of the time limit that we were saying that we would. And time flies, man, when you're doing these. Like, honestly, it goes so fast. So when I did the one with Phil Dyer, it was nearly 3 hours, and I'm like, how the fuck has that got to 3 hours?
Wow.
Yeah, it's mad. So we're going to get to a point of where we're going to start to bring it to a close. So, we, as you know, on the podcast, when we have guests on, we ask them the same 3 questions. So it's a nice little run along gag for the show. So first one for you is, if you're on a desert island, and I've got a feeling I'm going to know the answer to this one. You got 1 guitar, 1 amp, and 1 pedal on your desert island with no budget. What are you taking with you?
Is it gear that I've got?
No, it can be anything you want.
All right. I would probably get my Balagger because again it's Silverburst and it's super cool. Amp wise, I would get. Does the quad cortex count as an amp?
Ooh. I've let people have Kempers and stuff, so
Okay, yeah, I would get a quad cortex because I'm saving to get one of those bad boys in there. So I would get one of those. And then we also said pedals. So I would get. Oh man, yeah, I've seen that on your post. It's a cool.
it first opinion on it when I got it, I was like, okay, yeah, this is really good. And it did take me a while to get used to the
Yeah,
interface and using it. Now I'm more used to it. It is just the best thing
yeah, yeah.
I've ever used. There's still a couple of little, there's still a couple of little teething issues with it. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it's an interface, it's an amp. Like I took this to a friend's house in my bag to do some recording, and this is all I needed to take. This and a guitar, and it's the size of a MacBook Pro.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the future for me. Yeah, even if we do like studio live stuff, yeah, that's my go-to. It's gonna be my go-to thing. So yeah, hopefully I'll get one next year.
I've already put some captures and some presets up online, and they're doing all right. So what is the saying? Quad Cortex, you got your Balaga, and
And then pedal wise, well, I think I just got it in front of me, but it's either I got the drop pedal, which I love, and I use basically pretty much every day, or maybe a pitch shifter. Yeah, and I think I'm good to go. Even though this is called a Guitar Geek podcast, I'm sorry to all the listeners, but I could be like the less like guitar geek ever. I'm such a simple guy, so if something works for me, I will stick to it. And then I just like a simple setup. So guitar, I'm same, good to go.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, if I was going to take one pedal from my collection, I don't know what I would take. I think I would struggle because it's like, oh, I'd like that one, but I'd like to take that one, but then I can't take that one, and I wouldn't know. But if I was going to toy between two, it would either be the Honey Badger or
Hmm.
the synth one.
Oh yeah, or you can profile it, and then you got all your pedals there.
I have, to be fair, I have captured the Honey Badger and I have got it stored on the Quad Cortex,
There you go.
and it does actually sound very, very good.
Oh,
Very,
nice.
very good. Um, Second question is, what are you listening to at the moment on your preferred streaming platform?
So just let me check on my Spotify just to be 100% sure with that. Um,
I must add that there are other streaming platforms available.
so I've been going back to basically the album that I listened the most last year, and it came out last year. Um, I love an album called Nothing Is True and Everything Is Possible by Enter Shikari. And then before that album came out, I wasn't I knew that band for ages, and then that came out when the pandemic like kicked off, and I've been obsessed with that one. So I was like listening to that a few days ago. It's a weird band for me to like them, but I love them now. So
I've never
it's
got into them personally.
yeah, I understand. Yeah, they are very unique. I've been listening also. Me and my wife, we love this band. Basically, um, they are called Holding Absence, and they released a few months ago an album called The Greatest Mistake of My Life, and I've been like jamming that quite a bit. And then, how many albums did you say, or did you say any kind
Just
of
any, just any.
any? Um, and yeah, today I was listening actually. Um, the new singles by another band from the UK called Press to Miko. Yeah, they're gonna release an album like quite soon, like in a few days. So I'm kind of stoked about it. um, Black Peaks, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
good to
I'm
see them
just
come back.
Yeah, Black Peaks always at least once a day, easy.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at mine because my search is different on my laptop than it is on my
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm checking my phone.
it's like at the moment, um I've had Devin Townsend,
Hmm.
Limp Bizkit, Chocolate Starfish. That album is just fantastic. Scar the Martyr, Gajira, John Mayer,
Hmm.
um, Alluvial, Death
Oh,
Clock.
okay. Oh, that's clock so good.
Yeah. And I think like on my Spotify on my laptop, I've had Poppy, I've had more
Oh,
yeah. I just
that album, man, that debut album, I got
I just
obsessed
got
with it.
tickets for her today. I got tickets for her concert in January.
Where is she playing? Is it
Uh
Manchester or
yeah,
Birmingham?
she's playing in Manchester. She's playing at the Ritz Ballroom or something like that in Manchester.
I don't know that one.
Playing somewhere in Manchester, Bristol, Birmingham, and London.
Oh,
But
nice.
it was 40 quid for 2 tickets. So I was like, that's pretty good value, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I love her debut album.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You can see why it won the Grammy. It's,
Did she? I
yeah,
didn't know that.
she won a Grammy from it.
I mean, my Anthony, the vocalist in my band, he showed me Concrete like
Oh,
last Christmas. I was like, what the hell is this? It's so
I,
cool.
I like Bite Your Own Teeth.
Yeah,
Bite Your Own Teeth and Feel the Crown. I mean, obviously, I put that video up of Feel the Crown.
yeah.
Yes, that doesn't do that. Just a fun little tidbit for anybody that's seen it on Instagram. Go and check it out. But that was running the quad cortex
Hmm.
um, through some captures that I guess I can speak about. That basically, Rabia sent me some of his private collection of captures, so I
Nice.
was using those and running into my Harley Benton 212 cab through the little electro harmonics power amp pedal.
Uh-huh.
And I had it on about half volume on both. And my watch has got the decibel level thing on there. And it was 120, 125 decibels.
Oof,
It was fucking loud.
that's loud.
Yeah. Like for the equivalent, that's like a jet plane taking off next to you, I think. It was really fucking loud. I tried it at full, but it was the feedback was just too intense.
Yeah.
But yeah, sick riffs, absolutely sick riffs.
Oh yeah.
And lastly, where can people find more about you and more about the Sea Upon Us?
So you can find us like pretty much in all social like main social media platforms, streaming platforms as well. So mainly we are like mostly active on Instagram. We release some playthroughs on YouTube and our music. It's in all the main platforms like iTunes, Spotify, um, Deezer, you name it. So yeah, Instagram at the Sea Upon Us, and then yeah, you can type on Google the Sea Upon Us, and that's it. You can get our music for free on Bandcamp if you want as well. Um, and yeah, that's it.
So those that are listening on Spotify or whatever channel or whatever platform you're streaming on, all the links for Pablo and the Sea Upon Us will be on the YouTube link, and there will be a link tree. There will be the Bandcamp, all the Instagram profiles, so you can make sure that you can go and follow them. You can drop them likes. You can go and buy their CD, and I'm sure at some point we're going to have some merch as well.
Yeah.
We'll get some t-shirts. Absolutely, everybody loves a band t-shirt.
Oh yeah, we all love that.
When I wake up, it's like, okay, it's not what shirt do I wear, what band do I wear today?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Those are the vibes. Yeah.
yeah, man. Pablo, man, it's been fantastic to have you on here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me here, Josh. Really
So,
appreciate it.
yeah, you're absolutely welcome, my friend. So I believe that you'll be going to do a playthrough for us after this. Am I right?
Yeah.
So what are we going to look forward to?
So yeah, so I could play like one of the we've released like two singles, so the Black Widow's Curse and Last Breath. So yeah, so I will send you one of those, and then yeah, I hope like people enjoy that one, so people can see us in action.
Oh, I'm sure they are going to love it. If they like nice tight riffs, then it's going to be enjoyable. Absolutely. Thank you again ever so much for taking the time out and coming on to Guitar Geeks. It's been wonderful having you here.
Yeah, thank you, man. We
So,
appreciate it.
you're absolutely welcome, my friend. So, Pablo, his links will be in the description box below. You'll be able to check him out there. You'll be able to check out and see upon us. There will be a Bandcamp there where you can get yourself a free copy of the album. Who doesn't like free stuff? You got nothing to lose and you're going to love it.
Exactly.
My name has been Josh Castle. You can find me at the Corona Mortis, and you can find us on the Guitar Geeks podcast on all streaming platforms. Thank you again, once again, Pablo, for taking the time out. I have been Josh Castle, and we will see you again on another episode of Guitar Geeks very soon.